Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Aston Williams again, coming to you live with another amazing episode of the Melanated Travelers podcast. It's something that I do want to call out before we get started. I got my homeboy, man. I got the bearded traveler in there. But before we even get into the guest, he's actually the first repeat Melanated alum that I've ever had to come back for a dual episode. So kudos to you. You're actually the first one that I've actually repeated, man. But repeated for good reason. So obviously, it's a lot of things that have transpired since our last discussion. So just to give y'all a background of it, this brother went to my area historically. If you get into the geopolitics, if you get into the past occurrences of September 11th, this brother traveled backpack through Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Kuwait, and India. So we're gonna talk about this today because we need some insight, bro. We need some insight. So without further ado, man, I want to welcome y'all. Welcome to Melanated alum back to the show, man. The bearded traveler, man. Welcome, bro.
Glad to be back.
All right, bro. Let's just dive straight into it. Let's just dive straight into it. What sparked that interest into going into what a lot of people felt like uncharted countries? Just given just given the geopolitical culture and everything that has transpired these past 20, 30 years. What made you decide, like, okay, I want to go to Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan? More importantly, those three, just because of the history.
Yeah. Man, what's funny? I wasn't even supposed to go to those places. I was supposed to go to Asia and Ethiopia, but at the last minute, I just felt something that said, you know what? Let me try these places. But I also had been seeing a lot of videos and people who had been in Pakistan, right? So that's sort of how that started. But for me, as I get older, I find myself starting to question a lot of things around me and a lot of things that I actually, take in, especially from the media. And I had this in my heart. I was like, man, like, I've been taught this for the past 20 years about Afghanistan and, these people. And I'm like, but from my past travels, from what I've seen and what I've learned, a lot of that is not true. So I said, I wanna go there, right? I wanna go there, but I'm gonna go there with an unbiased mind. I'm gonna go there with an open mind and an open heart. But overall, I wanted to give these people a chance to tell their side of the story and show their side of the story because all we have been shown, especially Westerners and Americans, is only one side of the story. But if there's always more sides to the story. So that was my thing. I really wanted to give them that opportunity to be able to do that because a lot of them don't have voices. And I'm like, well, I have the platform, I have the resources. Let me check it out, right? And I also told myself that I could be completely wrong, right? It could have been just like what it was in the news, but at least I would be able to know that firsthand, right? So that's how that sort of came about, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, definitely. And that kind of remind me. I don't want to quote him. I don't want to quote him verbatim. But when Nelson Mandela was alive, and America as a whole, our country, really the Western world, we beef with a lot of people. So if I remember, I was watching the clip again. I'm not going to quote him word for word, but I was listening to Nelson Mandela before this interview just to prepare myself for that type of mindset that you just, portrayed to us. That interest in the traveling to uncharted places and kind of debunking some of these things. But Nelson Mandela had a very intimate relationship with Gaddafi, and Gaddafi was also, a person of interest, in the Western world that was seen as, certain things. And what Nelson Mandela said specifically was, just because this particular country is an enemy of this person, that makes me an enemy of this person. I went to his country. I've experienced his people, his culture. It's a great culture. Like the whole audience went quiet because they didn't expect this from a Nobel Peace Prize winner, right? So it kind of, I wanted to just kind of dive into that because that kind of reminds me of your journey going into these countries, man. So kind of dive into how it started. Like, what was the first one you went to? Was it Iraq or Afghanistan, Pakistan that you went to first?
Yeah, so I actually started off in Kuwait, and
Ah, okay, gotcha.
that wasn't supposed to happen. At the last minute, 2 days before I was supposed to leave, my flight had got canceled because of all the conflict with Israel and Iran, right? That was around the time when Iran was waiting on Israel to retaliate with strikes. So they canceled my flight. I had to then fly into Kuwait because I could not fly directly into Iraq. So at the last minute, I had to scramble. I had to get a visa for Kuwait. I had to figure out how to cross the land border, which was a
Wow.
lot. And I figured it out. So I started there. Then I crossed the land border into Iraq. I got my visa for Iraq at the border, which is another example of passport privilege as well, which we'll probably touch on later. And then I made my way through like southern Iraq all the way up to Baghdad. Once I was done there, I flew to Pakistan. I started in the southern part of Pakistan. I flew up north to like Islamabad, Peshawar. In Peshawar, I got my visa for Afghanistan there, which is another example of passport privilege. Crossed the land border into Afghanistan, spent some time in Kabul, then went up north to Bamyan and Bandamir, then came back, and then I took a 15-hour journey across Pakistan, like from Afghanistan to the eastern part of Pakistan to get to Lahore. After spending time in Lahore, I crossed the land border from Lahore into India, and I started in Amritsar, which is in the western part of India. Then I worked my way to Delhi. Now I was supposed to stay longer, but I actually ended up getting very, very sick. So I had to cut my trip short because I was supposed to go to other parts of India. And luckily, this is another reason why I don't book things in advance, and I book things as I go for reasons like this, right? And I was able just to change my flight back to the U.S. with no issues, and that was it.
We could dive into it. Like passport privilege, yes, but also I don't know that you have somewhat of a fear having that blue book when you first got into these countries.
Somewhat, and the reason for that is because of the past conflict with these, our governments, right? The past conflict. But it was also, I had that fear, but I really didn't because at this point, I understand that people and governments are different. And a lot of us understand that, right? So just because, our governments were at war doesn't mean that the people were at war. But what I quickly realized is that this blue book in a lot of these countries, they treated me like royalty. They literally treated me like a king. I was able to bypass everyone else. My passport took precedence over even other countries, like Western countries, like even people who had Hungarian passports, right? And yes, it's good, but for me, I felt bad because it's like I don't need this type of treatment, right? I don't need this type of privilege, right? I think that at the end of the day, we all should be treated equally, regardless of our passport statuses. But at the end of the day, I think that your people should be taken care of first, in my opinion. But definitely, once they saw their blue book, man, it was like they saw a black Jesus, like it was picture time. It was calling, they would take me to the back. The police officers, they would call their family and FaceTime and take pictures and you know ask me if I'm Muslim and just everything and stuff and crew get down. Sorry, my dog wants to make an
Are you
appearance.
good? What's up?
Yeah. Say what's
What's the
up.
name? Is it he or
Say
she?
what's up. A boy. Say what's up.
What's
Yeah,
good,
he's
man?
get down. Yeah, but definitely yeah, it wasn't bad.
That leads me to my next point. Since your dog want to feature too in the show, man. When it comes to like the friendliness and the culture of these countries, man, I've watched your reels. I've seen you, drink coffee with locals. I've seen you drink some culinary, some things specifically that you could tell us about that's dedicated to those countries. But I've seen nothing but openness and welcomeness. Like my brother, like let me show you my culture. Let me show you, you know, a different side of Iraq, of Pakistan, Afghanistan. Let me show you the true culture of this, and that's one thing that I really love, man, that you portrayed, man. Can you dive into that?
Yeah. So what you'll quickly understand and realize is that it's a few different parts to this. A lot of them are it's a culture thing, right? It's a culture thing. A lot of them are Muslims and it's in their culture to treat people this way. They don't see skin color, none of that. Like you are their guest, you are their brother. They're there to protect you, right? But also they're just so happy that you took the time to fly from America when you could have just went to Miami, right? You flew thousands of miles to come to these undesirable places where no one else will come, right? You're coming into their communities, where no one else will come. You're not staying at a resort. You're meeting them where they are and they appreciate that, right? Because it lets them know like, you know what? Like he sees us, right? Like like he could have went anywhere else in the world. So they're just, and also they're proud of their country. Despite of what other people may think of these places, they take pride in their country, right? long history, great food, close knit communities. They take pride in this, so they naturally and just genuinely want to show you around. Is what I've learned, right? So yeah, it was yeah.
How was the navigation? Like, how did you
Mhm.
just navigate through these countries? Like, I've seen you hitchhike. I've seen you jump with a group of people you didn't know. I've seen you stay at hotels. I've seen you stay with families. Bro, I know that had to be just the navigation and the logistics had to be crazy.
Yeah, it can be tough, but what you have to really rely on, you have to have, for me, I have this natural sense of navigation, but another part is that I don't mind asking people for help, right? So I caught a lot of my navigation was just I had to get lost, right? I was getting lost, but I would always ask people I would always ask for help from people. So that's how I navigated a lot, because sometimes my Wi-Fi wasn't working, so I had no access to Google Maps. So I had to rely on the kindness of these people, right? Navigate me, to guide me, to go to find the bus station, to find a taxi, right? All those things. So it was definitely, that's how I navigated. But I took a combination of overnight sleeper trains. I slept in a train, on a bus, ride shares where you actually share a taxi with strangers, and it's actually much cheaper. I've done that and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of moved around in a lot of these places as well.
Gotcha. From a what's we can start with Kuwait,
Mhm.
because that's another country, right? That's had some historic with the Western world. What's some sites that kind of really amazed you that when you was in Kuwait, just some experiences that you had, and we'll take it country by country, but we'll
Yeah.
start with Kuwait and then follow your path throughout your whole backpacking experience. Just Kuwait, like what's some things that really stood out to you?
Yeah. Kuwait is a few things. Kuwait is actually very modern, right? But also, it's very expensive because it has the strongest currency in the world, which is also, stronger than the USD. When I went there trying to like get things, I was like, this is expensive, right? But also, I spent a lot of time in the markets. So I saw, them slaughtering the animals, the goats, the sheeps, whatever, chickens, everything, right? And I realized that everything is fresh. Everything, all the food, the vegetables, like nothing is frozen in these places, as far as their food goes. So I did notice that as well. But that's like one of the two things that I noticed about Kuwait. Now, I spent a few hours in Kuwait because I was only passing through Kuwait to get to Iraq. So I spent maybe like 6 hours,
Gotcha.
exploring, walking around, and it's a very tiny country. So you can cover Kuwait in a very short period of time. And also, there's like this mosque that's a must see as well that I did check out. But I wasn't able to go in because you have to have a guide, and they were not doing guided tours that day. So I just got to kind of walk around it and stuff like that. And that's actually where I tried to hitchhike, but I had no luck because nobody was trying to stop for me. So that's, yeah, that's another thing. No one was trying to stop to hitchhike to pick me up. So it's fine.
I got you. So
Yeah.
transitioning to Iraq, man. Obviously, it's when people think about Iraq, they think about Saddam Hussein, and you actually had a chance to check out his palace, something that's really not open to the public. How you was able to squeeze that out?
So I met this guy, and just to kind of let me backtrack a little bit. Before I travel, I always make it a point to connect with locals because I want to build these connections in the event that I get in a tight situation, but a lot of them have a lot of insight, and they give me insight into what's actually going on the ground, right? So I made connects in Iraq, and one of the connects I made, he was a guide, and man, super friendly guy. He didn't want anything from me, nothing, no money. He just wanted to genuinely help me. So, we kind of, connected, and he was like, hey, I'm going to Babylon, do you want to come? I said, well, I'm actually heading that way. Let's meet up. So, the guy picked me up, man, and we had to sneak into the palace because it's not open, right? So it was like there when we arrived, we had to wait at the bottom, and there was like armed guardmen in front of the palace, right? So we had to wait until their shift was over. So we waited maybe an hour, and then they left. So then we took some bikes from this guy that we were sitting with, right? And he helped us actually coordinate us getting in because he knows the times that they leave and stuff. So we took his bikes and we rode up the hill to the palace. When we got up there, there was another guard. We didn't know that. So they were like, "What are you doing up here?" And so the guide had to like, we had to like, you know, he had to talk to them and let them know, hey, he's American, right? It's only gonna be really quick. He just wants to, show the good side and stuff like that, and show the Americans and stuff like that. So he said, okay, okay, very quickly before they come back. So we had to, he was on our side, that armed
Gotcha.
guardman. So he gave us like 30 minutes, and when the 30 minutes came, he came running in like he was furious because he was like, they're coming, we
Yeah.
have to go. So we rode so fast down on those bikes, man. But it was one of those things that's it's an experience, right, that you'll remember for the rest of your life. So that's how that happened. We weren't even supposed to be in there.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Did you guy? And we ain't got to get political. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we
Mhm.
know mostly everything between Iraq and the Western is political. But when I say this, I mean this in regards to just the beauty of Iraq. Post, post September 11th, post all this war and those type of things, man, and just how's the aesthetic of Iraq, just the beauty of it, the architecture.
Man, so Iraq is the cradle of civilization. This is where civilization originally started, in Iraq. And it's very diverse. Like each city is different. You can start in Basra, which is in the southern part of Iraq, and it has the marshlands, the Mesopotamian marshlands, right, which is extremely important to the history of Iraq. And you have the marsh Arabs. Then when you start to work your way up in the middle to Najaf and Karbala, those are some of the holiest cities in Islam. So it's a complete shift, right? When you get to those places, it's very, very, very religious, very heavily guarded because of these mosques. So there's extra security, but just seeing the buildings, but seeing how the people dressed was a complete shift from the other parts of Iraq. Then when you get to when you're driving between each cities, you see a lot of remnants of the war. It's
Mm,
like deserts, but you see a lot of homes and businesses that have just been blown up into rubbles. And when you ask the people, is that from the war? They're like, yes. And when you get to Baghdad, Baghdad is more modern, right? It's more westernized, in my opinion. It's not as conservative. A lot of women are not wearing their hijabs and stuff like that. You know, um, so each place is very, very different and unique. So that's what I like about Iraq as well.
yeah, gotcha. I seen like it seemed like it was a lot of brotherhood and a lot of just genuine connection with the people. I've seen you in the circle. They was giving you, out their culinary or dishes that's dedicated to their country. Like how dive into some of these foods, man, because it seemed like you truly enjoyed the food.
I think I enjoyed the food too much. I think I actually gained some weight there. But the thing is, all their food is fresh, so that's a plus. But one of the foods that I ate a lot was masgoof, and it's actually carp. And I don't think we eat carp here in the West, but everywhere you go, that is what they eat. The fish is huge, lots of meat, but also a lot of bones. Now, and they grill it, but my opinion, it's better when they put like lemon juice on it or like some sort of like base or something on it. Because outside of that, it's a without that, in my opinion, it's like it's okay, right? But yeah, I ate a lot of that. Some of the dishes, man, I don't even remember the names. I won't even lie to you. But definitely like one of like the breakfast items that they eat is kebabs, and I really enjoyed that, and they're super inexpensive. I paid maybe like 30 cents per kebab. They eat a lot of what do you call the bread? It's not pita bread. It is I forgot the name of the what they call the bread, but it's essentially pita bread, and they eat that with almost everything. So one of the bakers who actually he's been owning this bakery in the markets for like it's like a four generation bakery, right? And this old man invited me in, man. We talked, we laughed, and he actually wanted me to, help make some bread. So I made some bread and stuff. And once I finished making my bread, I went to pay for it. And he was like, no, 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 no. You don't pay, you don't pay, you don't pay. But the food in Iraq is actually really good. Very good.
Wow. When it comes, you know what? I know you touched on it just a little bit, but I also just want to kind of get everybody back recalibrated when it comes to getting information on these countries. Obviously, you dressed appropriately by what you put out on your platforms. How did you navigate that as well? Even though you knew these countries were highly Muslim countries, but you still had to prepare for that. You still had to get
Absolutely.
the right gear.
Absolutely. And this is something that I really, really, really want to touch on to anyone that's traveling. Immersing yourself in the culture is very important, but also taking time to research the culture is very, very important. So when you go to these places, please, please dress accordingly. Please, I beg of everyone, dress accordingly and be respectful, right? That can save you a lot of trouble, and it can also, in my opinion, it helps with safety as well. But anyways, how I kind of like, I did a lot of research, right, on Islam and in these individual countries and stuff like that and cities and what to kind of expect. And holistically, all of them are, the most part, they can be conservative, right, depending on the area that you're in. But I knew for me, because one of the practices of Islam is modesty. I always wanted to be modest, right? That didn't mean I had to have on, like my kameez, which is the traditional wear in like Pakistan and Afghanistan. But I knew that for the most part, I wanted to be covered up because, especially if you're going into religious places like these mosques, men have to be covered up as well. So your arms, you can't have on those short shorts and stuff like that. So and I don't like to stand out, and I also have tattoos. So I made sure to cover up a lot of that. So I wore long sleeves, I wore, long pants, and covered up, especially in Iraq. Now, when I got to Pakistan and Afghanistan, I wore the traditional clothing, and I also wore the traditional headwear. And sometimes you'll see me, my entire head is covered as well too, right? So it's just a respect thing. And when I tell you that takes you so far because they appreciate that so much because you took the time out of your day to to try to fit in, to appreciate their culture. You didn't go there with the American flag here or American hat, or a shirt that says LA Lakers. You're really taking the time out to appreciate their culture and stuff like that. So that goes a long way with them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So as we transition from Iraq, what was your next destination?
Iraq, I flew to Pakistan.
All right, all right.
So, yeah, I flew to Pakistan, and that's where the fun really began. Not to say Iraq wasn't fun, but like Pakistan, that's where the fun really began for me, and
Come
that's when
on,
I
come
started to,
on, bro.
yeah, yeah.
First and foremost, I'm a former track and field athlete, and I just got to give a shout out to Arshad Naheem, which recently won. He's the first thrower in the country of Pakistan to ever win a gold
Wow.
medal. So he's the gold medalist for the javelin throwers. As a former thrower, shout out to Arshad Naheem.
Nice, nice.
Yes, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, man. So all right. So we switching gears into Pakistan. You in Pakistan? Obviously, we know that country has history as well with the Western world. I gotta talk about this. It was a video. You was with a group of people, and then you had some people in that group. They was a part of what people consider to be a terrorist, a terrorist organization.
That's I think that's probably Afghanistan.
Okay, that's Afghanistan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's Afghanistan.
Okay. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna
Afghanistan.
get to
Yeah,
it, y'all.
yeah,
We're gonna
yeah,
get
yeah,
to it.
yeah,
We're gonna get to
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
We're gonna get to it. But I'm gonna still bring this up as my point though, is that, we have Bloods, we have Crips, we have Pyrus, we have all these different, organizations considered gangs to certain people in our country as opposed to other countries. It's no different. I have family members that's Bloods, I have family members that's Crips, I have family members that, are in these organizations. And just because an individual might be in that organization, holistically, that does not make that person a bad person. That's what I was trying to get to. I was trying to get to that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's important not to generalize people based off of the actions of one or a few, because and it's unfortunate that sometimes as humans we tend to focus on the negative aspects of things. We tend to focus on those ones that did us bad, right? Instead of focusing on the good, because at the end of the day, like I always say, only 1% of people are bad, but 99% of people are good. So we should always try to focus on that 99%.
Got you. Got you. So what, man? Let's just get straight to it. What made you fall in love with Pakistan?
Man, it's so weird. Again, I wasn't supposed to go to Pakistan at all, none of these places. But I was scrolling on IG And I had just on my For You page, that's all I was seeing was Pakistan. I'm like, dude, who goes to Pakistan? I haven't heard much about Pakistan, but it looked really beautiful. And a lot of the content creators were like, looked like they were having a good time there. So I connected with a few of them. We had some conversations, right? And they recommended the place. So I started doing my research. And I was like, okay, I can wing this, right? I want to do something different. So that's when I just scratched Asia and stuff like that. I said, well, I'm just gonna go to Pakistan, and that's how the rest of these countries kind of fell in line as well. But yeah, just from social media, man, and that goes to show you the power of social media and the influence that it can have on some of us.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, brother. So let me just say this: like, we are the media, man. We are the media now. Like, shout out to some of these news, these news stations, but we are the media. We bring in accurate and vital information to our niche and to people around the world, man. So we the new media. Like, what you just did, in my personal opinion, is it's a ripple effect. It's a like a drip inside of a ripple. You cause a ripple effect because now people's mindset is like, yeah, I never thought about traveling to Iraq. I never thought about Pakistan, Afghanistan. Now, all right, yeah, like we can try this. Let's test this out. So, I
Yeah,
just want to commend you on that, my brother, for sure.
thank you, bro.
Commend you on that, man.
That's why it's important, especially for me as a traveler, content creator, blogger, to be authentic. Right. I always strive to show the real side of things. I don't want to sugarcoat things. I don't want to feed into any narratives. I'm gonna show you the raw, the real, what from my experience, right? That and like you mentioned, we are the new journalists, and we get to show these real stories, and help give these people voices who otherwise they wouldn't have the voice of the platform to tell their story. So I agree with you.
Definitely. So Pakistan, bro. Let's dive into some landmarks. Like, what's some things that people should check out? How long were you in Pakistan? Like, what activities, what everything that you did while you was there?
Man, oh, in Pakistan, I stayed there maybe 2 weeks. When I tell you I ate so much food, like nahari, which is like, it's like goat. I even tried the one that has the goat brain in it. I tried biryani, which is I'm telling you, dude, like, man, so good. Man, I think about that biryani every day. Then they have like these other dishes where I forgot the name of it, but they eat it for breakfast. It has like chickpeas but boiled eggs in it, and you eat it with the roti. That's the name of the bread,
Roti.
roti.
Okay.
Yeah, roti. Yeah, you eat it with the roti with your hand. And remember, you have to eat with your right hand and pass food with your right hand as well too if you're going to these countries. But man, we just ate, and the thing about the food is that it is fresh. So when you pass in the markets every morning, you'll see the animals have been slaughtered. By 1, 2 p.m., they start preparing the food, and by the evening, the food is ready. So you can eat so much of the food, it's fulfilling, right? You feel like you're full, but you're not stuffed, right? You're not sluggish, your brain is not foggy. It's good quality food. They drink buffalo milk, which is extremely healthy. So I drank a lot of buffalo milk. I drove tuk-tuks. I was serving people food, in the markets. I was pumping strangers gas. I was milking buffaloes. I was on a rice factory and stuff like that. So I did all kind of things in Pakistan, and that goes to show you just how open-minded and fun Pakistan can be. Now, as far as the landmarks go, I visited a lot of mosques, like the Bad Shahar Mosque, which is in Lahore. I visited one of the mosques in Islamabad, which is actually, I think, the largest or the second largest or third largest, one of those. And then but the majority of my time with my travels is spent in communities. You won't really see me at a lot of landmarks, right? I'll go check out a few, but for the most time, I'm where the people are to get these authentic experiences because a lot of times, at these landmarks, you'll find a lot of tourists, and it doesn't really fulfill me a lot of times. So I need to be where the people are in their villages, right? At schools, at some random markets and stuff like that. That's where I need to be, and that's where I'm usually at. That's where you'll find me.
I wanted to surprise you. I wanted to wait to get you on the show. We don't have to dive into it now, but one thing that I want to do, as this platform is, right, for us, by us, I seen that I don't know if it was Pakistan or Afghanistan, but you did visit a school and you did donate school supplies. My brother, I want to just let you know as a platform, we would also like to support that as well. So if you do have any connections to that school specifically that you was at, we'll talk off the record. But we
Okay.
definitely, as the Melanated Travelers platform, wants to see what we can do to support that school as well. So I wanted to
Thank you,
wait
my
to get
brother.
you on to tell you that.
Yeah. I appreciate you so much, man. That means a lot to me because it helps. It helps, man.
Definitely, definitely. So like I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I'm gonna say what everybody's thinking. Never would I thought that Pakistan would be a modern country.
Hmm.
Honestly,
Yeah. It's very, very modern. Honestly, even Iraq is. So kind of back. Sorry, going back to Iraq.
no, you
If you
good.
go, yeah, if you go back up north to Iraq, like the Kurdistan region, it's very modern, right? But you'll notice that it's separate. Kurdistan and like the Federal Republic of Iraq are separate. So they're ran by different governments, but that region is very modern. Now, when you go to Pakistan, lots of especially Islamabad and Lahore. Islamabad is the capital. It's a financial center. It's very, very, very modern. Lahore also has modern parts as well. What you'll see in a lot of these places, you'll see huge mansions. And contrary to what a lot of people believe, a lot of Pakistanis, a good chunk of them are wealthy. A lot of them own their own businesses as well. And what I quickly realized is that these mansions that you see, huge 8-bedroom mansions, right? They cost maybe 200, 300K. Very, very, very inexpensive. Very
Wow,
inexpensive. And what you'll quickly learn and find is that how the family is set up, like in that culture, especially Pakistan, a lot of them live together. So, like the family I stayed with, like they had a huge mansion, but they have like their own sections and apartments. So you'll find each family living in different sections, which is cool as well. But yeah, it's a very, very modern places. Absolutely.
wow, wow. Infrastructure, everything, the whole nine
Yeah.
yards.
Yeah.
Man, let's go into the big one, right? The one that Bush announced, man, after 9/11. Let's dive into Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Out of all, like three of the countries that we just mentioned so far, Kuwait, Iraq, Pakistan. Did you have any fear going into Afghanistan? If you had to like lay out all these countries, that you have any fear going into this one, given that this one had the biggest impact historically, the biggest impact with geopolitics and all these other topics that we could discuss. But did you have any fear going into this country?
I did. I really did. I won't even lie to you. Like, I did because Iraq, I'm sorry, sorry, Afghanistan is such a remote region of the world, right? And again, everything we've heard the past 20 years has just been nothing but chaos and war and killings. That's all we've heard, right? And seen. Actually, going into this territory ran by the government that we were fighting with for the past, what, 20 years up until 2021, right? Constantly going there as an American, right? It can be a little scary. But the thing is, I really didn't let that stop me. Like, I didn't. I didn't. But yeah, I was scared. I was scared.
Gotcha. Which leads me to my next point, that blue passport. When you slid that to those customs agents at Afghanistan, how was just that in action?
Dude, it like they lit up. They were surprised, but they were like, America? And a lot of them could not conceptualize that I was American because the only Americans that they ever see are white. That's all they've seen. And if they see black people, they're typically Africans, and some of them can be a little darker than me. So they couldn't conceptualize how I'm brown, how I have a beard, and how I have my hair is like this. But they said, but your hair is like this. And I had to explain to them, I'm from Louisiana, I'm a Creole, and this is my heritage. And once they understood that, it was like, ah, okay. But getting back to that blue passport again, when they saw that, it was like they saw a king. Literally. You know, they lit up. They were like confused, they were excited, they were honored, all these different emotions, like, okay, he's an American. We have to really, really protect him at the same time. So yeah,
So once you cross that border into Afghanistan, what was your navigation strategies to get to some of these cities?
man, it was chaos and it was hard. When I tell you that was the hardest part of the trip and the toughest part was crossing that border because it's so chaotic, so chaotic. And the things that you see at this border, it's tough. You see the guards beating the young boys and the men. But after I crossed the border, which also I was lucky because having that blue passport, they literally escorted me. They escorted me through the border, like past everyone in line. So that also drew attention to me, which I really didn't like because
Ooh,
they
yeah.
s- they s- they see a black man. Yes, I'm in their clothing. I have a beard, but they're escorting me through everyone. So everyone is like, "Who is this? Where is he from?" Right? So you'll start to feel that. But once I got through all of that, here come the kids. Again, a very very poor country. They swarm you and they try to, steal out of your backpack. And luckily I had mine strapped, but I was prepared because I had read about this. So they couldn't get into my backpack, but they had unzipping it. And that's just how quick and fast they are because there's so much going on. And then here come the taxi drivers. 20 of them swarming me, right? A lot of them don't speak English. They're screaming because they want my business. And that is where I had to really stand my ground and tell them, y'all need to back up and y'all need to chill out because y'all are, y'all are, this is too much. Give me some space. So on top of that, having to negotiate the price with them through Google Translator, right? So it was a lot going on. So I finally was able to negotiate a ride and the other drivers got mad because they wanted my business. So when we got in the taxi, one of the drivers came into our taxi. He took the driver's keys and he ran off with it. Then he came back and they started fighting. And I said, dude, I'm not about to do this with y'all. So I got out the taxi. I said, nah, I'm not. I'm not doing this. And I went and I found somebody else who was chill. And we finally got out, but it was intense. Very, 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 very intense crossing that, man. Like
Wow.
I think about that every day. There was a lot
Wow.
going on, man.
Wow. Wow.
Man, I can't believe I did it.
Oh,
Man,
I could definitely believe it. But once
man.
you got past that turmoil and you got into, deeper into the country, like, how was that experience? What was your first stop once you crossed the border after you got the taxi?
Yeah.
What was your first stop?
So we passed through the Khyber Pass, and it's scary because a few things. The drivers drive very crazy. There's no such thing as driving laws. They drive fast. They don't drive in the lanes. You could be going up a narrow. This is the street is very the road is very narrow. Huge mountains, a steep cliff that you can easily fall up. They're swerving, passing around cars. Another car is coming on. So it's very very scary and intense. But at that same time, that's when I realized how and why Afghanistan has been unable to be conquered by the Soviet Union, the UK, and the US because of these landscapes. Like, it's so insane that it it's insane. So passing through there, it was very scary, but I definitely did have those thoughts. And the next stop, we actually made it to Kabul, which is the center of Afghanistan, and that's where things started to kind of get a little bit better and the intensity started to subside, right? But immediately when you enter and you pass through a lot of these places, there's checkpoints everywhere. So it was always, and they didn't really speak English. So I had to like show them my passport. They couldn't read the passport. I have to use Google Translator or ask someone else to kind of, help us, let them
Mhm.
know and stuff. But yeah,
That blue book, bro. That blue book it's powerful. It's powerful. How did the people treat you? In that first city that you stopped at, knowing that I know you tried to, dress accordingly, but obviously they know you're not from there.
yeah,
And how was those interactions with the people in
dude,
Afghanistan?
man. For starters, they thought they didn't know what I was, where I was from. They either thought I was Arab, they thought I was Muslim, they thought I was Ethiopian, they thought I was possibly from even South America, but they would never knew or thought I was from America. But even before they found out where I was from, they were still nice to me. They didn't treat me any differently. I think once they found out I was from America, they made sure I was really protected, and they went out there. That was one of the things. But dude, I didn't have to. They didn't let me pay for anything. They invited me into their homes, which I didn't do because the Taliban, they don't allow that, and those people could get in trouble for that. But I could be passing on the street, and strangers will be like, "Hello, how are you?" You know, And I'm like, I'm good. How are you? Or salam alaikum. And then they stop. And what would happen is once I would stop somewhere and talk to one person, immediately I would have a huge crowd around me. It never failed. And in those situations, it's always that battle because I like connecting with the people. I will make sure I shake everyone's hand. I'm gonna make sure I talk to everyone. That's always my thing. But I also have to make sure I don't draw too much attention in these crowds. So I try to quickly get out of them because they can turn a little crazy. It's a lot going on, and it just it's too much around me. But again, those people were some of the nicest people you will ever meet. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not paid to say any of these things. This is the truth. These people, man, treated me like they had known me forever. They treated me like I was their brother. They didn't see any color, nothing. They just, it was genuine love, like the love that you feel from like a grandmother, man. Like it was real.
Man,
Yeah, it
definitely,
was real,
definitely.
man.
Definitely, definitely. What's some things, some activities there as well? Did you visit more mosques there, or did you do any additional activities in Afghanistan?
So I didn't visit any mosque in there. I think I visited one, but I didn't go inside. But for the most part, I spent time in the communities trying the food, meeting people. But a lot of another portion of my time was spent in Bamyan and Bandamir. And if you've seen some of my photos and videos with that blue water and those
Bro,
those
that was
amazing,
absolutely
yeah,
amazing, bro.
that is where I spent my time. And when I tell you no one was there, it was quiet. It was just untouched. And it didn't even feel like I was on Earth. It just felt like I was on Mars. And it's kind of astonishing to know that like no one has really been here, right? And it's also kind of bittersweet that a lot of people will never experience that place. And it's so beautiful. But that's essentially what I did, man. Like that and yeah.
It's absolutely amazing, brother. It's absolutely amazing. Then we ended off. You ended off the trip in India, which a lot of people, they primarily go there to go see, go see the Taj Mahal. But me knowing you for the time frame that I've been knowing you, I know you didn't go there for that. I know you went there to engulf yourself with the culture. So I did know that you did go to New Delhi. I did see that you went to New Delhi, which I think is the biggest city in India. I might be wrong. I think it is
I know it's like I'm not too sure, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know.
close to
I
it.
know it's like yeah, it's close to it. I know it's like the
How was
capital.
how was how was the markets there?
Yeah.
Because I know they hustlers. They true hustlers out
Oh
there in
man.
India.
So let me tell you how I got to India. I had to take a 15-hour bus all the way. Coming back from Afghanistan. Okay, this is where it got interesting because crossing the border, I had to be escorted by armed policemen. Because the region we were passing through had just experienced some there was like a terrorist attack at the train station that killed like over 20 people. So it was a lot going on. So I had to be escorted. So we get in the car. There's this guy with the armed guardman with this gun, and in the front of us there's four of them, and two in the back with their guns just looking out. And behind us there was also gunmen as well, and it was very tense. So we were speeding through a lot of these cities to get through them, and as we were speeding through, people were just looking. So it's one of those things like you're drawing a lot of attention to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very intense during that moment, I won't lie. So I finally got to the bus station, took a 15-hour bus across to Lahore, again spent time there, then I crossed over into India. Now, India it's a beautiful country, but as far as there was a lot of, especially with taximen, like they will definitely try to overcharge you.
Uh-huh.
And you know, I get it, but I don't get it because, you know, they think that you're American, you can afford it, right? But I don't want to like, undervalue, like I want to support them at the same time, but I don't want to like allow them to take advantage of me. But there definitely was some scamming that happened. And I think again, this happens in every part of the world. So I won't even like try to single out India. But there definitely was some scamming that was going on in that place. And yeah, yeah.
The food in India. Did you have to
Sorry.
be careful? Oh no, you good.
Go on your bed. Go on your bed. Sorry, I'm sitting here. My dog has literally chewed up this Christmas ornament. Okay, all right, go ahead. Sorry.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Hey, he got you, bro. He got you. See, I told you, man. Your dog helping with the commentary, man, because I was gonna talk about the food.
I'm literally sitting here talking and I hear him like I'm thinking he's chewing on a sock. Like it's literally like, oh my god, this dog here. Oh man.
Just where you in it. Like I say, man, I'm not trying to give a bad rap
Yeah.
to any of it, but I got friends from there. How did you navigate like just the the markets? Some of those places are not the cleanest. You know, the way they handle their food. I know it's a cultural thing, but how did you navigate through that with the markets? Like choosing, like, okay, I think I can eat here. I ain't gonna mess with this over here.
Yeah, I didn't. It's a lot of things, street foods I stayed away from because I was already sick. I had already kind of got like food poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still on the edge. So I ate some of it, but I didn't eat a lot of it. I didn't drink the water because they don't advise that you drink it at all. But yeah, I mainly ate at like restaurants. Yeah,
Gotcha.
and
Gotcha.
I tried like a few street foods. Like it was like here and there, I would buy it just to taste a little piece of it, and then I would either give it away or throw it away. But yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
So out of all these countries, because this was a question to one of the listeners that dropped in the chat. I got y'all. I got y'all. I'm gonna ask him. I
Mhm.
got y'all. So if you had to like just revamp your entire journey, Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Kuwait, India, which ones would you double back to in a heartbeat?
Afghanistan and Pakistan easily, easily. Like, and I'm actually planning to return next year. So yeah, it's just that good. Yeah, I
Wow.
want more. I'm fulfilled, but there's more. There's more for me to experience in these places, and I have to go back, and I'm definitely gonna go back.
Got you. Got you. And we always say, man, like just based on this trip, what's some things that you could just get people that's on the fence again, man. Like I said, you double back. This is your second time on the show. But I know the advice is going to be different, especially after this trip. I can tell just from knowing you from a short period of time that this trip has changed you. I can tell entirely. How this trip has changed you. But a person that is on the fence and just saying, you know what, like I'm trying to figure this thing out. I'm trying to navigate life. I have all these things going on, but I want to travel. Like, what's your message to the people today, my brother?
Man, get out there. It doesn't matter where you go, who you go with. It's important to get out there. But another part is just giving people a chance, right? When you go to these places. And when I say give them a chance, like, go there with an open mind and an open heart, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, essentially it's just like just get out there, man. There's so much in this world to see. And I always say even if you have to do it alone, do it because if you wait for people, you will never go anywhere. You'll never do anything if you wait for people.